Hello everybody, and welcome to another teaching of the Law of One. Today I have taken an answer, a Q&A from the first session, which I think elucidates so much in the nature of our being, and perhaps one of the most densely packed explorations that Ra gave us in terms of who we are. And this all, of course, comes from the initial contact. So a couple of things that I want to say. The first thing is that, of course, this is my view and how I see things based on the mystical approach that I have undertaken in my path, in my journey in introspection and the inner path. So I find a lot of these sentences to be so congruent with the natural teaching that we find in non-duality, and it shows the mystical heart of the Law of One here. And one of the things that I sometimes joke about is that I feel that Ra, in the first session, they perhaps weren't sure if they were going to have a long contact. Maybe this was going to be a one-time thing, even though they found great resonance with the group. So they unloaded everything that they thought was important. So in essence, I feel that if we read the first session, we don't have to read the rest of the material, because the rest of the material is just creating more complexity around the one understanding of the Law of One. And it's useful. Of course it's useful. All information is useful to a degree. But the essence, the heart of the Law of One is presented to us in the first session. Now, the first session is a bit chaotic because it is the first time that they did contact with the group. And so I'm not going to cover every single detail, but there were communication mishaps, meaning that the contact was kind of fluctuating. They were attempting for the first and only time to communicate through another instrument that wasn't Carla, and they were unsuccessful in those attempts. So I think they continue only on Carla, at least from the recordings that I have listened to. I only hear Carla. So at the beginning, like I said, it's the first time also that Ra gives a sort of monologue, like they weren't asked any question. It's the first exchange, if you will, the first paragraph or block of text that we read is Ra giving a sort of sermon. Also, I've heard it called cosmic sermon, they used to call it in those days in channeling. So we can see that Ra is giving a very poetic description of reality. They talk about the one original thought, and they make us ponder if we have taken thought today, was there love in that thought, and so on. And so my intention is not to cover session one. I did that already, and I can probably do it again and do it in a different way, much more enriching after 4 years that I covered for the first time. Actually, this is the anniversary of the Law of One, actually. This week, it's been actually 4 years since I started the Law of One. So it's interesting that I'm circling back, and I didn't plan this, to be honest. Now that I think about it, I'm starting with session one around 4 years after. But in any case, I'm interested in one single exchange where there is a description for this path and this understanding of the Law of One, and that is in question 7, which I'm going to actually cover this one in the usual slides that we've been seeing for 4 years already. So yeah, it's a good way to celebrate, I guess. And let's see what Ra says here. It's also important to mention that there was no recorded question for this because the person who asked the question was too far away from the recorder, so you can't listen to the question. But the important part is what Ra gives us as an answer. So let's read what they say here. And I believe this question might have been about the nature of ourselves or something like that. We don't know the question, but again, the answer in the message is what's important. So let's go paragraph by paragraph here. And at the beginning they say, consider, if you will, that the universe is infinite. This has yet to be proven or disproven, but we can assure you that there is no end to yourselves, your understanding, what you would call your journey of seeking or your perceptions of the creation. So, right from the beginning, they make us the suggestion, imagine that the universe is infinite. And they acknowledge that in our culture, we haven't been able to prove or disprove this, because we can say that the universe is infinite. We need proof of that, but what proof could we possibly get that the universe is infinite if we are looking with limitations? We can't. And so it cannot be disproven either, because there is no logical reason for us to imagine a limit to the universe. Why would there be a limit? What's behind that limit? Isn't there something else? That something else must be part of the universe. It's one thing. So, but they do say, we will assure you, and this is something that we can prove. We can definitely prove that even though we can prove that the universe is infinite, we can definitely prove that who we are, ourselves, has no end. Now, normally people would react to this by saying, well, that can be proven because I actually have proof that I'm limited. Look, I'm limited here. And that's because there hasn't been an attempt to investigate the nature of our being. If we investigate the nature of our being, we find that that which we really are, in essence, what we call I, is actually boundless, is limitless, it's infinite. And of course, because of that, all the experience that appears is potentially infinite. And so that's why Ra to me says here, your understanding, well, first of all, there is no end to yourselves, to your understanding, or what you would call your journey of seeking, which is not really a seeking, to be honest, is a journey. It's simply a journey in experience, right? They call our perceptions of the creation. Our perceptions is this, although they are limited for a reason, because we cannot have unlimited perceptions, otherwise we wouldn't be able to perceive anything. So perceptions are limited, so the journey of perception is, of course, limitless. And that's the establishment here. All of this is congruent with the non-dual understanding of who we truly are. And so it's beautiful to see that here they're saying the same thing in their own words, which is something that they actually said at the beginning. Probably read it here, when they mentioned that they're here to just give a different slant. We hope to offer you a somewhat different slant upon the information, which is always and ever the same. Now that's important, because we know this. It's the same information that all our mystical teachers have given us, but now, of course, in the vocabulary and the perspective of Ra, a sixth density being. Let's see what else they said following that paragraph. They say, that which is infinite cannot be many, for manyness is a finite concept. To have infinity, you must identify or define that infinity as unity. Otherwise, the term does not have any reference or meaning. In an infinite creator, there is only unity. You have seen simple examples of unity. You have seen the prism, which shows all colors stemming from the sunlight. This is a simplistic example of unity. So we can see that this description here is to, of course, talk about infinity and unity, two things that seem to be sometimes not connected for some reason, but it is one and the same thing. Infinity and unity. That which is infinite can only be one, right? Or it must be unified. It's not one, and that's why we have the term Advaita or non-duality, because it's not two, but it's also not one, because one implies many. And so they say here, same thing, that which is infinite cannot be many, because manyness is a finite concept. To have infinity, you must identify it as unity. Infinity and unity are the same. So look at the implications of this. If I can corroborate through direct experience, which is what we do in this path, if I can corroborate, and not only corroborate as a sort of intellectual thing, but experience the fact that I am infinite, the I am that I am is infinite, that self, that being is infinite, then that being is one with everything. You see? And they'll get to that. You see? That's why these paragraphs are so powerful. And right in the first session, they were very adamant to leave us this. If they could only leave one message, I think it would have been this. So, they say that otherwise the term does not have any referent or meaning. Still talking about infinity as unity. And they say in an infinite creator, there is only unity. So now we're talking about the creator, right? That which creates. That which creates can only be one, right? It cannot separate itself from itself. That doesn't happen. Some people interpret reality as being that. They interpret spirituality and the stories saying that we are fragmented here. Now this is maybe a compassionate approach to the mind that hasn't grasped yet their beingness. But compassionate as it may be, at some point it must be shaken away and shown that it makes no sense, that there are fragmented pieces of unity. That makes absolute no sense. It's almost like saying that a number can stray away from infinity, that numbers can be independent from infinity. And I'm talking about the numeric line here. All numbers are a way to describe the infinite line of essence, matter, substance that is, right? It's just a way of fragmenting mentally that which is infinite. And so in an infinite creator, there is only unity. There's never been a fragmentation. It's only perceivable for us, and it's because that's the way we can experience reality. We come out of infinity to create and experience, and we return to infinity as the end of the journey. And there's not even a we. It's just perception begins and ends in infinity, in unity. Let's see it that way, so we don't have to put a mythological approach to all of this and entities and travels and all this. Perception begins in infinity or unity, and it ends in unity. For example, you wake up from deep sleep. That's infinity. That's pure awareness. And you go back to sleep at night. Same thing. It's a cycle. Experience after experience. Day after day. Then they say, you have seen a simple example of unity or simple examples of unity, and they mention the prism, which is a beautiful way to see. Yes, light is one, but it can be fragmented. Is it truly fragmented? No, it's simply exhibiting that which is potential within it. And each one of those rays of light can be further, quote unquote, fragmented. But it's just an expression of the same light. And they would go on to explain here the octaves of experience and so on. But we don't need to get into that because it's not necessary. Not for the recognition of who we are. It's just for the inquisitive mind that wants to put things into order and organize things. And now they're going to enunciate the law of one. They say, in truth, there is no right or wrong. there is no polarity. For all will be, as you would say, reconciled at some point in your dance through the mind-body-spirit complex, which you amuse yourself by distorting in various ways at this time. This distortion is not in any case necessary. It is chosen by each of you as an alternative to understanding the complete unity of thought, which binds all things. So, right away, there is no polarity, no right or wrong, no up and down, no inside and outside. Everything is congruent with the non-dual understanding. Forget about the teaching, because it can get complicated too. The non-dual understanding through direct experience that you have never seen anything beyond yourself. You have never seen anything beyond now and here. There is no other place, there is no other time, there is no other being. It's only been you. The way you perceive things, you may qualify them as other beings, but in essence, it's just been you. Everything has been processed by what you call you. Well, we go back to, who am I then? Who is processing all of this? Who is creating all of this? And who is returning to itself at night in meditation, or at any given moment when I'm not lost in thought? Well, we see that is the one being. And everybody is that. So that is that there is no polarity. This could be explored further in, because, well, this is the investigation that brings about the peaceful, harmonious way of the adept. And they say that everything that we perceive now will be reconciled by the mind-body-spirit complex, which is now getting, of course, into the language of the law of one. And they say that we amuse ourselves by distorting in various ways at this time, meaning that we're basically children playing with this. It's like animals in the wild. They're just playing. We think in a Darwinistic way that, they're survival. All they think about, as soon as they wake up, it's all about survival. It's much more accurate to me to see that they are playing, that they're playing within the rules that their mind body allows them, and that's exploration, that's experience, not survival. Survival is just an instinct of preserving the game. I want to play for longer, so survival is just that. We all have it, but that's not the name of the game. Let's call it that. And then they say that this distortion is not in any case necessary. We don't have to do this. You see, this can get, of course, into a bit of I don't know what word I want to use, but into a dark interpretation, like, I don't need to do any of this, why am I here, and so on. That strays away from what it means. What it means is that, it's not necessary that we have to do this, but it is what we do because we desire it to do. It's just that we forgot that we desire to do this, and that's what we are remembering. And it is chosen by all of us, by each and one of us, each and every one of us, as an alternative to understanding the complete unity that binds everything. So, let me put it this way. You don't have to live. You can simply sit and not do anything, and yet you will feel that you are compelled to do things, to share things, to explore things. Only if we're lost in repetitive stories that the mind tells us is where we get maybe sad, depressed, and we just don't want to experience anything. But the interesting thing is that it's not life that is imposing this on you. It is your own thoughts that are recycling and depressing you, because, and this is the beauty of this, inside, that story, deep inside, that those stories that are recycling there are not necessary. So you yearn, you long for this understanding, for this openness that you are. And then finally, they say, You are not speaking of similar or somewhat like entities or things. You are everything, every being, every emotion, every event, every situation. You are unity. You are infinity. You are love light, light love. You are. This is the law of one. So many things here. And the first one is that we're not talking about similar things or entities. Like, it's not like we are similar. We are the same kind. It's just that we essentially, at the foundation of our being, we are the same thing. We, in non-duality, especially in the direct path, in the way that I learn and I experience myself, we call this awareness. Awareness is the basis of everything, or beingness, as Rupert Spira likes to call it. And I agree, because everything is and has being. So that's what we all have in common. You, they're not talking about you, the human with the story and the character. They're talking about you as the fundamental you. They say that you are everything, every being. You, awareness, or you being, beingness, are every single thing and every being. Every emotion, every event, every situation, all of these things is you. You are the basis for all of this. You are unity. You are infinity. Going back to what they said at the beginning. Then more within the vocabulary of the law of one, they say you are love light, light love, which is something that I won't get into, but it's the energy, in essence, that the intelligent energy that moves everything and that is everything. You can call it chi if you want, prana, same thing. And perhaps the one that gets the least attention is that, and I'll go back to the slide so I can show you. Here, when they say you are, and that's between, like, that's a whole sentence. You are. What does that mean? Why would they say you are just that? Because being is all that there is. You see, there's no need for complexity here. We can only go into this and be satisfied and know that this is the law of one. We can close the book, throw the material out, or gift it to somebody else. So hopefully they can only read up to session 1 and not like me, who has been reading it for 4 years so many times. But yeah, that's it. You are. Just get with that. Questions may arise, and there's people like us who like to answer questions, but there's no need really to explore anything else. I think this is it. This is the whole teaching. This is the whole law of one. This is the essence of the investigation of who we are, the basis of philosophy, the answer to all the scientific questions, everything. This is the resolution of the spiritual path. This is it. You won't get anything more explicit, crystal clear, and direct like this. So, I hope this was useful. I love to go back to some of the sessions and reread based on the experience that I've had this past 4 years alongside the non-dual path. And if I can leave you with just one thought, is that you are. That's the same thing. If I tell you you are, the translation for you within your mind is I am. He told me I am. Stay with I am. And that will take you your whole life to explore just the I am. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in what I do, check me out on Instagram. Join the new Telegram channel where I'm doing seminars on the law of one, and I'm also opening calls for people to join and do this investigation, which is the mystical search for unity. And we simply call it investigating the nature of our being. That's the direct path. That's what I do. That's what I'd like to explore with people and help, because that's the resolution, like I said, of the spiritual path, and the one thing that answers all our philosophical questions. It seems too simple, and we like to revert our attention to complexity and concepts. But if you're tired of concepts, if you think you've learned enough, which some people need to exhaust themselves in seeking and practice, then you may want to check the direct path. That's all that I am about, and I'm here for you, of course. So again, in the description you can find Instagram, where you can contact me, and Telegram, where I'm doing all this work. Check out my Patreon as well, where I'll be posting all of these seminars and conversations and dialogues. And I have nothing else to share, but I hope this was satisfying to you. This is the one teaching, like I said. Everything else that we say and talk about is just an extension of this. So have a good day, good night, whatever you are. I hope you're well, and I'll catch you in the next video.